Have you ever stopped to think about why you do what you do? There are so many amazing business owners and founders that I look up to that have a really clear purpose and mission behind why they do what they do. And today we're joined by an incredible guest that has been on a very mission driven journey of starting a business. Louis Watkins is the founder of Clear for Men, the skincare brand that's encouraging men to take five and look after their mental health and start having conversations about this really important topic. In this episode, we dive into what it really takes to grow a business from scratch, the personal journey of growth that you go on when you're building a business on your own as a solo founder, and why it's so important to share the lived experience of struggling with things like anxiety to inspire other people, and the impact that goes way beyond the engagement and follower count that you have. I'm really excited to dive into this episode. I hope you really enjoy it, and it's definitely one that's going to open your eyes to what it really takes to build a business and why it's so important to build an authentic personal brand too. So I hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me, Louis. I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about you and your business and how you got started building Clear for Men.
Yeah, so my name is Louis. I'm the founder of Clear for Men. It's a skincare brand that's breaking the stigma around mental health. My mission is to not only help men feel more confident in their skin, but also be that reminder for men to take five. I named my first product Take Five to be that reminder. And I also want to be like that role model for men to see that talking about vulnerability like isn't a weak thing to do, but it's strength and seeking that support. And it all started from my own mental health journey back in 2021, and I want to try and help encourage those conversations to be had more, allow men to see that, oh, like talking about vulnerability is like it's important for us to do. Like we should talk about it more and try and tackle that stigma. So it all came from my own experiences with like anxiety and from like sort of like my mental health journey that started back in like 2020, 2021, just like so I suppose like just before like COVID, um with I say in school was like the very beginning, I suppose, with like anxiety from exams and A levels, and then like it went a little bit there, and really enjoyed my time with my apprenticeship and started to enjoy my apprenticeship. But then obviously COVID happened, and I just became a completely different person, and I lost a lot of confidence in myself. I stopped loving myself as much as I was, and I didn't like the person who I was becoming, and I wanted to try and almost like become a role model and help people see that like there is light at the end of that tunnel, even though it doesn't feel like it at the time.
I love that the fact that you have taken something you've personally experienced and turned that into something that could help other people as well. And that's
Yeah.
obviously very similar to my journey when I started my first business as well, which was all around anxiety and my own experience with that. So I completely relate to that kind of challenge and that struggle. Do you feel like mental health was something that you were always aware of, or did it take those like challenges to make you really realize how impactful that can be on your life?
Yeah, that's such a good question because like I find that I was I knew people in school that had struggled, and I was aware of it to that extent, but I wasn't aware of the impact it can have on someone. So I could never understand from their perspective. I couldn't empathize. I never knew what they were going through. As much as I would like to, as much as I wanted to empathize, I could never understand what they were going through. So it was really hard for me to understand at the time when people were struggling. I wanted to understand, and I wanted to support them, but I didn't know how to. And obviously, I was quite young as well at the time. I was probably like 15, 16. I'm still learning my own myself, really. I'm still learning everything. And yeah, I didn't really understand anxiety. To be honest with you, like really, it was only when I became 20, 21 that I really even knew anxiety was a word. Like honestly, like it like so I maybe heard of people being anxious or but I put anxious and nervous in the same category. So
Mhm.
if they were like nervous for a job interview, they were anxious for a job interview kind of thing. Um yeah, it definitely changed my perception of the whole, and I think because now that I have so much empathy and sympathy for people, um, because I understand it, like I actually understand it more. Whereas before, I wanted to have the empathy, but I just didn't know how to. I didn't know what it was, so it was hard. It was very difficult at the beginning. I would definitely say.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you said that you didn't really know that kind of what that word meant until you were about 20, like 21. That's it's kind of crazy that we go through life till that point to not even
Yeah.
realize what is that feeling like. And like you said, it is very easy, especially when you're around other people, to compare maybe their nerves to actually what is anxiety. Like, is it panic attacks? Is it like being short of breath and like heart palpitations? Like,
Mm.
what's the difference between those two different things? And often, like one thing I found with anxiety is it shows up in times when you're not meant to be anxious too.
Yeah,
So, like, obviously, going for a job interview, that's normal to feel nervous. It's
of
normal to
course.
feel anxious. But maybe in the middle of the night when you're meant to be asleep or you're kind of just living your day to day life and you're meant to be enjoying yourself and you feel that anxiety, that's
Yeah,
where it's not so normal. And that's when you
yeah.
maybe do have anxiety or you're experiencing something that's a bit different to nervousness. So, I think that's really interesting that you maybe didn't have the words or the language or the understanding of it till that point. It is
Mm.
crazy that we're not taught about this in
Yeah, I
school.
know.
And I got diagnosed with anxiety when I was 12 years old. So it was really like early on for me, but I was very much like the only person I knew that had it. So it felt like I was a bit of an alien and no one else really had that. So I think yeah, it's crazy that we're not speaking about this sort of stuff and talking to young people about it. But I know that you now go back into schools and you do deliver talks around this and how important has been that part of it. Obviously with Take Five, with what you have as your message within your brand as well, it's all around having those conversations and sparking those talks about and mental health in general. So how
Mm.
important has that been for you to now spread that message with younger people as well?
Yeah, massive. I think like I wish I had it back then because because I was saying yesterday when I was doing talks at my old school, I was saying that like I was kind of reminding people that they're not a burden for feeling how they're feeling, and I sort of phrased it in the way of like, would you ever feel as though your friend was a burden if they came to you, and would you want them to feel a burden if they came to you? Why? Let's flip the narrative. Why would they would never want you to think that you would be a burden on them? And I think like what I noticed like as the lessons were going on, like I really got the attention of a lot of like all like pretty much the entire class, like the entire session really, because everyone was just glued to because they were thinking about it differently, and like I never had talked about mental health in school. Like we I knew mental health, I like we maybe spoke about it very briefly, but it wasn't really touched on as much as I think it is today, which is such a good. It just goes to show how far we've come, even in like the 6 years that I've not been in school. Like the fact that they're doing a full week this week where they're just talking about like so many different things that can really help people from like in different aspects of life. I think it's so important, and like what I notice is like people really do like I think what I notice a lot as well is like the people who they think that, like I give it like for me for instance like if I was there 6 years if I was there even 10 years ago back when I was 14 and I was listening to someone come in and talk about mental health it would be something that really would I would look at and go yeah I'd never want my friends to feel this way even though I've not felt this way before at the time like it would make me think like oh yeah maybe we do need to start talking about this because I think it really reminded me of like I think everyone like left and was like, oh yeah, like thank you for that, thank you for that, thank you for that. And I just thought like for 14, 15-year-old students to be saying that, like I know how hard it is to even like put your hand up in class and talk in front of like 50 people. That's hard. So for them to come up to me afterwards and say, oh, thank you for that, really appreciate it. Like it just goes to like I think it just reminded me like, oh yeah, this does need to be done more. And the school were very happy with like the way it was done and the attention that like, everyone just was they were so glued to it. Because I just think again, there are people that go through it, but they just sometimes they either they don't know they're going through it necessarily, um, or they may have friends or family members that may be struggling and they may not know what the best thing to do is. And I think that's what like really it really made me realize more needs to be done in schools particularly. Like workplaces are a massive thing as well. Like I've done talks in workplaces and they've been so impactful to so many people and they've really got the conversation going around colleagues and stuff, which is incredible. But in schools, when sometimes you 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 have that fear of judgment in school in particular, don't you? Because obviously you're with your friends and stuff, and you don't, and there is that worry. But like me coming in and like sort of reminding people like you're not alone in this, and like, and I kept saying like for me to come and stand in front of 60 students and talk about my own mental health, like that is a hard thing to do. I was like, but I'm doing this to remind you that like there is a support available, and I think that really resonated with a lot of people because I think even the the popular kids, I suppose, I think everyone was thinking like, oh yeah, fair play, I could never do that. Like, and I think some people that I think walked in and first initially thought like, oh, I don't really like. I think like there are some people that were quite um not that they didn't want to listen to it, but they were very much like, oh yeah, but like this doesn't affect me kind of thing. But in fact, it affects everyone. It affects everyone in different ways, and it's just important to, even if you're not struggling, it's important to learn about it. And I think that's something that I wish I learned about more. It's something that I wish my friends learned about as well when we were younger, because I think a lot of my friends now that some of them they do struggle. And I think if I constantly tell myself if I didn't talk about my own journey, I wonder how much they would speak about theirs. So
Yeah, no, I think it's really powerful when you hear from somebody that's got lived experience of the problem. I think that's huge. I think like they definitely didn't do talks about mental health when I was at school, but I think the only people I heard talk about it were like medical professionals, and they obviously
yeah,
talk about it from a very different perspective to
yeah, of
somebody with
course,
lived experience of it. And I think the fact that you acknowledge that whole point around feeling like a burden, it doesn't just look at, okay, this is what anxiety is, like it is feeling anxious, this is the symptoms, which is often what a lot of people tend to do when it's talking about mental health. It's like, this is how you recognize it, but not necessarily like the impacts they feel, because having anxiety, having mental health challenges can be so isolating because you feel like a burden. And I think that's really important to acknowledge, because I bet there's a lot of young people in that room that felt that way, but maybe didn't want to tell their friends, and maybe they don't want to open up because they feel like a burden, or they feel like people around them won't understand how they're feeling. So I think even just speaking about that sort of stuff, I don't think is spoken about enough, even in the conversations around mental health now as well. So I think that's huge. And how, when you were starting the business, like how important was involving that element of that conversation in your idea to come up for Clear for Men?
I'd say it's probably the like the foundation. I'd say is the intent. It was the most important part for me. When I started Clear for Men, I started with I didn't have the idea for it to be a skincare brand initially. So it was I've always loved my self-care routine, so I knew it was going to be something around like the self-care element. I've always loved my skincare. It's the way it makes me feel. It's the way that like that is my time for me to take 5 minutes and just have for me. No one can take this away from me. Even during a time like COVID where we were all stuck in the same four walls, that was time for me to like have for me. Like no one could take that away from me. And I loved the way it made me feel. It was like that time that I was pouring back into myself. I was loving myself again more, and it was just giving me more energy because I was just giving that. I was allowing my mind to just stop. Like I was giving myself time to stop. And I think in 2020, so the end of 2020, I gave myself a New Year's resolution to start something. I really wanted to start something in that sort of field because I knew how much it made like how much it benefited me. And I think within about maybe 3 weeks of I think 3 weeks in the January, I think it was, I came up with the idea of okay, I really want to start my own skincare brand that does normalize the conversations around mental health. But I also knew that came with a massive uncomfortable phase where like I would have to talk about mine a lot. And like I made the plan of like I want to go to schools and talk and I want to go to workplace and stuff. And like that was a really scary thought for me because as much as I really wanted to do it, I'd never done it before. I'd never spoken in public. I think I'd done public speaking maybe twice, and it terrified me, like it just like before. So it's one of those things like, okay, this could be really uncomfortable, but think of who it could help. And then from there, then like the idea of the brand sort of came, and then I knew I wanted it to be around mental health, so I sort of like branched off and did it more than that's why I always say like it's more than a skincare brand. And then came up with a name idea, and then just sort of built the brand separate. So built started to build the brand itself, and then over the past few years, I've sort of like built the personal brand element and sort of like gone down a route of okay, this is the skincare brand, but this is what I do and this is why I do it for the talks and all this. So it like kind of reminds people that oh yeah, this is more than just what meets the eye kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's so interesting. And did you always think you'd start a business? Was that always your plan, or was it kind of
No,
a really random idea that you had?
very random. Yeah, about well, it was. I think what happened is I finished my A levels. I put a lot of pressure on myself to do my A levels.
Mm,
So I did history, maths, and oh, I did history, maths, and Welsh baccalaureate, which I don't know
Wow.
if you, oh, well, you wouldn't have done that in England. There's like an English back. I'm pretty sure there's an English baccalaureate. I might be wrong, but it's basically like it's really hard to explain what it is. I couldn't even, but it was basically like a big project, I suppose, that you did. And like he was
Mm.
on, and like I can't even remember what I did mine on, but like I remember it was something like it's like something to do with maths. I really like maths, so I was like, I'm gonna do it based on that. I thought, yeah, great. So that's what I did for my A levels in year 13, and I in my head I was like, I don't know what I want to do, and I was speaking to my form tutor at the time. So I was there was so much not controversy, but I was head boy, but I was one of the only head boys that was thinking about not going to uni. So I was
Mm.
like, I kept saying, I don't want to go to uni, or I'm not sure if I want to go to uni yet. And they were like, oh, what would you like to do? What would you like to do? And I was like, oh, I might do this degree, and I might do this degree, and I might do this degree. And they were like, but do you really want to do that? Like, do you want to be an architect, or do you want to? And then I was like, yeah, no, I've never really thought about this. Like, I that wouldn't be for me. I don't know why I'm trying to think that. And then then I applied for a lot of apprenticeships then. So I applied for a lot of apprenticeships through when I was in school still. And I got so a few of them based between here and Swansea, I suppose, and didn't get any of them, which I think caused again like the rejection. That's like when rejection started for me, and I started to feel like why started taking it personally. And
Mm.
I was saying to the students yesterday, just a sidetrack, I was taking it saying to the students yesterday that like the wrong doors closed for the right reasons, so I wouldn't be here
Yeah.
today. It's like so I was kind of saying to them like if things don't always go well and if you have the setback, like that's okay because that's what part of life almost. And I said like I thought, "Do you know, I'm gonna try and find some apprenticeship. I then didn't find an apprenticeship. So I applied for an electrical engineering course in Cardiff. I think it was genuinely like it was in a really nice college, and I think it was genuinely like £30 to sign up. Like it was like £30 for the. I thought oh, I'm going to sign up for this, and I just thought I can get a qualification, and then from that I can maybe find an apprenticeship through that route. So I signed up, had like an induction day. Like it was really really nice people there, and then like they were like, oh yeah, okay, amazing. So you'll start in September. I was like, yeah, okay, amazing. And then like a few weeks later, maybe like a week later, my mum rang me and was like, oh, there's a job going at this railway company, like massive company. Um, like, do you want to apply? And I was like, oh yeah, okay, why not? Like I didn't think anything of it. And I thought like in my head, I thought, oh, I've been rejected by a lot of these big companies. Like I don't think I'm gonna get this one. But then I ended up getting that one, which was crazy. Like, so I ended up like going from like I'm going to go to college to oh, I've got an apprenticeship. So I was then getting paid to do the same college course that I was going to be paying for, kind of thing. And then COVID happened. So my thing was like, oh, okay, I was going to go down this route of like engineering, which to be honest with you, do I see myself as an engineer? No, I never saw myself that like that. I was very, I like not in like an arrogant way, but I had like I feel like I had like a natural talent for maths. Like that was probably the only thing. Um, but like engineering as a whole, like I'm not the like I am better with my hands, but I wasn't the greatest with my hands. So I just thought I don't know if this is going to be like the thing for me. Um, but I went down that route and I thought, oh yeah, maybe this is a good like career. Like this could be like a good way of going building my career. Um, and that's where I thought I was heading. I thought I was heading like then. I wouldn't even know. I was thinking about like, when I finished that part of my career. So I was working in like design engineering on the railway. So I was going to be from there. I was thinking, oh, maybe I could become like a manager, or maybe I could even change completely and maybe learn more about like train driving. I don't know where it was going to take me, but I thought, oh, maybe that's where my career is going to go. And it sort of like I think during like COVID really took so much away from like like so like I was really like I really want to do all this work and they were like yeah there's no work like there's nothing to do so I just sit there and do nothing so I started to like lose my purpose and like that's what caused me to feel even worse then because I was like I'm not doing anything you're paying me which is great but like that's it made me realize very early on like money is not the thing that makes you happy because you can have all the money, but if you're not doing something you enjoy, like what is the point?
Mm.
And I was like, I don't enjoy this. Like I just don't enjoy this job. I am like I really did it. I enjoyed the people, but the job aspect, like it unfortunately just came to a point where I was like, I'm not getting pushed anymore. Like you're paying me good money, but you're not pushing me, and I'm not, and I know I have so much potential, And then I got so I was there for 5 years, and I really thought I was gonna, I thought it was gonna be, but during like the 2020, early 2021 stage, I was constantly looking at like on like obviously we were all on our phones, and I just kept looking at like people, so everyone was just sort of like looking, people were starting businesses. So there's a lot of new businesses coming up, and people were like, oh, yeah, this is like how to start a business and all this, that, and the other. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, I've never really thought about starting a business. Okay, I can put a pin in that and I'll leave that for later. And it just kept coming up and coming up. And I was like, maybe I could do something. And I don't know what it was, but there was just some naivety and bit of, well, a lot of delusion where I was like, maybe I could do something like this alongside the job. Like, why could I not build something? Um, and yeah, that's sort of where the delusion. That's sort of when the delusion started, really. And then I just sort of started in 2021, and I remember saying to my mum, like, I was like, "Oh, I've just started working with a graphic designer on a logo, and I think it cost me like £300 to start working on a logo." And my mum was like, £300 like for a logo, like what are you doing? And I was like, yeah, but like this could be huge. Like, if if you don't try, you don't know. And in my head, like I said, I had the money at the time. I had the money at the time because obviously I wasn't spending anything. Um, so everything I was earning from the job, I was just putting into the business. So yeah, that's sort of where sort of where it's at. I never really had like an idea to start a business. I know it's a very long-winded way of me saying no, but like I never had like an entrepreneurial background or like this. Like it never was a thing for me. I never really knew, and I'm still learning today. Like I really don't know what I'm doing like 90% of the time. But I'm just like, and I think what I realize is like it is down to like I think the whole element of building a personal brand and getting people to really enjoy what you do and who you are has changed the game massively. Because like there are so many skincare brands out there, like there are. There's no denying that. But like I think Amy Smale is the one that says it best. Like she says like you are your USP. Like you're the person that like you are the person that is the brand. So like you're the reason why people come back time and time again, even though they could go somewhere else. And like that, like don't get me wrong, like I know that I've got a good product, but like people aren't just coming to me for the product; they come in because they genuinely enjoy what we do. And I think that's why I've realized like the importance of building a personal brand, which I did put off for a very long time. But yeah, that's my long-winded answer. Sorry.
No, I love that. There's so many things I can go off there. Like there's so many bits that I could dive into. I'm like, which one do I do first? I think, yeah, I completely relate to the whole like didn't see myself being an entrepreneur. Like I had little side hustles from like the age of 16 of like selling. So my background's in design, so I
Yeah.
sold like prints and illustrations from like 16 on like platforms like Redbubble, like very like early on, but never really identified as an entrepreneur. Like a
Mm.
business owner was never really something that I was like, I'm going to do that. Maybe because all the business owners I saw were like maybe the dragons on Dragon's Den, and it felt very far
Yes.
removed from like little old me, like starting a business in my bedroom kind of thing. But yeah, I think that's really interesting that you didn't see yourself that way. But then like the fact that maybe social media was like showing you those messages, and you got onto that side of the
Yeah.
algorithm, which was like start a business, and that's really interesting that that kind of came up. But I think having been able to invest in yourself is huge. Like the fact that you took that leap and was like, right, I'm going to pay that graphic designer. I'm going to see if I can bring this idea to life. I think that's where a lot of people hold themselves back, is that they go, I don't think that I'm maybe worthy of that investment. I don't want to bet on myself to give this a try. So I think that's really interesting. But the fact that you also mentioned that like you felt like obviously earning money from your job was great, but you didn't have that purpose.
Mm.
And I think as purpose, obviously with what you do, it's very mission driven. But how important has purpose been to you and your entrepreneurship journey so far? So far?
I'd say it's been the thing that like I has genuinely kept me going. Like the amount of times that it's not that I wanted to give up, but it's like whether you think like I think you go through like cycles where like, oh yeah, I can do this and I'm unstoppable, and then it's like I have no idea what I'm doing. I need to duck out now whilst I can. And like I've hit a lot of the um the flows. Like I've hit a lot of like downward spirals in recent months. And there are times where you lose a lot of confidence in yourself. And I think what I noticed a few months ago was like I was starting to like I've been so optimistic and like, oh, I can do anything, and like really positive mindset. And then like a few months ago, like I went through like a really negative mindset. I'm like, no, I can't do this. I'm like, no, it's just stupid of me doing this. And I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I talking to myself so negatively? This is the first time I've done this in like a very long time. Um, I would say like the thing that has genuinely kept me going is the purpose behind the brand, because like I love doing what I'm doing, but I also know how hard it is, and like sometimes I do question like, oh, am I qualified to do this? And like, have I got the capabilities of doing it? I do genuinely like think like, oh, maybe it's not for me. But then I also like, no, I wouldn't be where I am right now. Like, I mean, in August, it's 3 years since Clear for Men launched, which is just weird. Like, that's just mad for me to even say. And like, I keep going back to that thing of like, oh yeah, think about all the people we've helped and the impact that we're having. It's not just skincare, and that's the thing that keeps me going even when times get tough. I never wanted to give up because I wanted to give up. I wanted to give. It's been a thing where like, do I need to call it a day because like, can I even do this anymore? And then that just comes down to like, I'm really learning to I'm really learning to be kinder to myself, but like I'm putting more time into. And I was speaking to a woman a few weeks ago. Oh, well, we had a call last week actually, and she was saying to me like, the thing is, a lot of people think that like putting putting an hour aside, like you have this idea of like working 15 hours a day, but one of those hours, or however long you're working in a day, like one of those hours should be you like going to the gym and moving your body and putting time into yourself. And like reading, like I find that like reading for me has been so like, it's allowing me to see things clearly, and like I'm developing that positive mindset again. So it's kind of like that is also like it's an investment in you. So that's helping me a lot, like along the way. Like my mind is so much clearer because I'm actually putting more time into myself rather than being like fixated on my laptop 24/7 and not doing anything for myself, because that was really causing me to feel, well, just not good. And then you don't enjoy it then, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I definitely fell in that trap when I started my first business, which was like the hustle culture side of social media. Like the people that like you should be working 16 hours a day and don't sleep and like be spending so much time on social media and like replying to comments and all that, or like posting, I don't know, 20 pieces of content per day because you need to be out there being seen. And it's such a recipe for burnout that it really sets you up to fail if you do it that way, because it's really easy to fall for the story, the narrative that you should be putting all that time in. But often these people that are saying that have teams of people that are doing that for them as well. So as a little solo founder, a solo business owner, you're like trying to fight all these fires, but also you need to make sure you're looking after yourself as well. But I think I wrote a post, I think this was one shared today actually, around how starting a business is one of the biggest personal growth journeys you can go on. Like it really does teach you so much about yourself. Like you think you're going to be growing professionally, but you're just growing so much as a
Personally.
person. Like the challenges, especially if you're building it on your own as well, which often so many people do start out as a solo founder. You don't always have that network of people to bounce your ideas off or support you or actually go on that journey with you, which can be really challenging. And how have you found that, like building it on your own initially? Obviously now you're building out your network, you've got more people around you, but what's that journey been like of doing that on your own?
It's been, yeah, it's very lonely. I literally, like, funny enough, I had a call. So there's a girl I know, and she's currently living in Australia, and I was having a call with her, and we were on the phone this morning for probably about an hour, and she was saying to me, we're both in very similar, not similar situations, but like she was like, I was saying to her about like when my confidence was knocked, and she was saying to me about how like like it's hard because she's not sure what the best thing to do is for her, and she really wants to pursue this, but like she's worried about the opinion of others, which I think that is what can be the loneliest thing for me when I first started. Like even what I just said with the logo, like through the pen, like, wow, why are you spending that much on a logo? Like it's that immediate thing of like your mind's going, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be doing this, like back out right now. And like it's been really hard. It's been very, very difficult. But like I've also just realized that I have to surround myself. I think that's what I've learned. I wish I learned it early on, was like I need to surround myself with people who are in this, like, and are in the like are in the trenches with it. Like they're in it, they understand it, they know how hard it is, and they're understanding. I think that for me was like the hardest thing that I like. It was such a lonely. It's like it's so lonely and isolating to begin with, and you feel like you're like. I put a video out on TikTok the other day, and I just said like the amount of times that I wake up on a day to day and I don't really actually know what I'm doing. I've got a list of things to do, but I don't know whether it's the right things to do. I'm just doing them, and like it does scare me. Like it does freak me out because there's no one to tell you like, oh, this is the right thing to do. Like congratulations, like keep doing
Yeah.
this. It's just like, yeah, just you just go, and that's what really frightens me. Um, yeah, it's been a very scary, it's very scary and lonely to begin with. And I think it's the self-doubt. I think the self-doubt is fed from the opinion of other people. And I think that's why I'm learning. I mean, I'm reading a book at the moment, The Courage to Be Disliked. And I think it's like it's training, it's like reminding me like you're doing this for you. And there are going to be people that there are going to be people that don't like you, and that is absolutely fine. But there are also going to be people that love what you do. So like kind of like reminding you that like live life for you selfishly, like live life for you, not for the opinion. Because I think that's it. We give so much energy to what other people think, and like that happens to me. Like when I have my confidence knocked, I'm giving energy to someone else, and I'm like, why am I doing that? Like, why am I like this is my journey, and like not everyone's gonna understand or believe in you, but like that's okay. Do you know what I mean? I think that it's definitely the
Yeah.
lonely one.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's when you're surrounded by people that are maybe not business owners as well. Like if people in your life have got normal traditional careers where they do go to work and they know what they're doing and it's kind of scheduled and pre-planned by everybody else, and you're just sat there going, "What am I doing today?" Or maybe I'm like, maybe it looks like I'm only doing 1 hour of work today because I'm like jumping on a train and I'm traveling here to do a talk, and it's like all that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, am I actually working like hard enough? Like, am I doing enough? Like all that kind of stuff that plays on your mind because working doesn't always look like sitting down at your desk, which is what you probably associate with being productive. So it's such a mindset challenge and a mindset shift because your brain can really fall into those patterns if you're not surrounded by other business owners that are doing the same thing as you. So yeah, I completely relate to that. And I wonder if, I mean, we both started businesses around the time of the pandemic, and I wonder if that made it more difficult at the time to be surrounded by those kinds of people because we were so isolated, like off in our own, working on our own, obviously not going out to meet people. Now there's so many more networking events that you can go to. But when did you start like connecting with other founders? Like what point in your journey did you do that?
Quite late on, quite late on. It was very like in hindsight, like like something that I if I could tell myself, like I would say like I should have started like at the very beginning. I didn't really take like LinkedIn seriously. Like I just didn't
Yeah.
take it seriously at all. Didn't think about other founders at all in the sense of like, oh, we can like help each other. It was just like I didn't even think about it. But I think also when I first started. I was, TikTok was fairly new at this point. Like I wasn't, but it was kind of thing. So you didn't really see many personal brands on
Yeah.
those platforms. So I didn't really know, like, and again, same with LinkedIn, like I didn't really think about it like that way. Um, but I remember like there's a time when I remember when I told my family that I'm going to do it. I was sat at this table and I was telling my family that I'm going to start my business, and it was just like it was like crickets. Like everyone was just dead silent. It was like I was like, oh, fair enough, because they just like what are you on about, like Um, but that like surrounding myself with people who understand it
Mm.
has been such an important thing because I think if I had done that at the beginning, when I had told them, I probably wouldn't have bothered. I wouldn't have minded so much that they didn't say anything because that's okay that they don't understand because they're not down the same route. Um, and yeah, it's been very very important for me to connect with like other like-minded founders, but like I wish I did it a lot sooner. Like I didn't take LinkedIn seriously until earlier this year, like I made it a New Year's resolution to try and post like 5 times a week, try and connect with as many people. I think my goal for the end of the year is to try and get 10,000 followers on LinkedIn, but I'm trying to do it like the best. Like I'm trying to expand and trying to like meet new founders and just really and just like I don't know. It's very very difficult thing for me.
Mm.
But I'm learning every day from like different founders. I'll look at founders in like the skincare industry and I'm so engrossed in like what they're doing. So I'm like if people got like if they're like doing oh yeah it's a day in the life of a skincare brand owner. I'm like yeah let's see it. Like I want to see what you're doing. Like I'd love to know what you're doing and not from like a copying standpoint, but from like I genuinely want to know what you're doing in a day to day because like it's interesting. Like it's interesting. Like and also I'm down the same route. Like and that like do you know what I mean? And there are so many. I think what I've also realized is like you feel as though some like when you see these people with big followings, you automatically think, oh, they'll never respond to me, but actually, like even if they're in the same niche as you, like they are willing to help you because they just want to help. Almost like, it's. I think I've realized it's like it's not you're not competing against each other, you're collaborating with each other to help each other, and I think that's what's been
Yeah.
really, really reassuring for me on my journey. But I feel as though I didn't know that at the beginning. I was very much like, oh, it's competition and like everyone's like for each other and like I can't speak about all these things because people are going to judge me. And I'm like, well, hang on a second. Like, I need to, now I've realized like I need to speak very transparently about like what's going on. And like, because I just think like transparency is like, people can relate to it. People can relate to it. Like, I'm not a six-figure business owner, and that's fine. Like, I'm okay with that right now. Like, it's fine. Um, I don't want to define my success as how much revenue my business has made. I want to, like, do you know what I mean? And I think that's going back to the purpose behind it. Like, it's, and I think that's why, yeah, growing my personal brand and like reaching out to like-minded founders has been such an important thing for me. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's how we kind of connected, wasn't it? With
Yeah,
the
it
fact that we
is.
both seen each other on LinkedIn and then we
I
turned up to an
know.
event and was like, I
I
recognize
recognize
you.
you.
So it is so powerful. And I think it's very easy to kind of get caught up in the likes, the engagement, the follower count, because you're like, oh, they've got 30,000 followers, they've got 40,000 followers. I haven't. Surely they're doing so much better than me. But actually, you don't realize how many people are seeing your content. If they're not even engaging with it, they're still aware of what you're doing, you're still on their radar. And it's very much something with personal branding. The one thing that I've learned, I started posting consistently more on LinkedIn about a year before you did, so January
Yeah.
2024. And it's such a compounding effect with the content that you share and the impact that you have. Like, if
Mm,
you keep investing in it, it really does like return on that investment over time. But
yeah.
it's something that you can't always quantify. Like I was saying, like you can't quantify it with just the likes, just the engagement, just the followers, because it's more about how many people have seen that piece of content. And might be scrolling through LinkedIn every single day, seeing you pop up, and you're front of mind whenever they're making a decision about maybe buying that next gift or hiring somebody to work on a project or booking you for a talk. So it's so powerful. And I think the fact that you've invested in that, it like over the last sort of 6 months now, it like more consistently, it is really showing up and it is working. Like obviously I came with my feed, I was like, yeah, I completely relate to that story. But I think when you've got a purpose behind what you do, it gives you so much more to write about as well. Yeah, and I was wondering earlier when you were speaking about it, actually, like I wonder if you just started a skincare brand without the purpose and the mission, whether you would have stuck at it as long as you had right now.
No, I don't think
Yeah.
I would have. I like, don't get me wrong, I love the skincare element of it. I really do. But like, I don't. I think for me, I think at the time, I think I would have like there wouldn't have been a story behind it to tell. Do you know what I mean? I love my skincare, like I really do, and like I know that like I spent like 18 months developing the cleanser, and it's taken such a long time, and I've enjoyed every second of it. But like, I want people to really connect with what we're about. So I would have like, yeah, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would have stuck at it if there was no purpose behind it. Whether I would have stuck at it or not is very, I don't know. It's a very hard one. I don't know.
Mm.
Me right now, I think I probably wouldn't have. Being completely transparent, I probably wouldn't have. And I think that's just down to the fact of like I would have seen so many hurdles and just thought this is impossible. But I think the purpose is like is sort of like making me realize, oh, do you know what? Like, I'm helping other people. I can do this. Like, I can keep doing this, and and I think growing my personal brand and growing it, and I getting people. I'm going up to events, and people are like, I know who you are. Like, I see you all the time on LinkedIn, and I don't even know who they are, but they're like, I see it all. I see your content all the time. I love it. I love what you're doing. And I'm just like, okay, this is working. It's just a matter of when, not if. It's really, I want to keep telling my story as much as possible, and I think without the purpose, I don't think it would be anywhere near as effective. Um, yeah, tough really, but
Yeah, no,
yeah.
definitely. And I think that's completely normal.
Mm,
That's kind of why I got into doing what I did. So my background was in fashion design. And as much as I love being creative, there was no purpose behind it. There
mm,
was no impact. Like you would creating clothes, designing clothes to be worn once and then they were gone. And it was just like, where is the impact? So when I set up my first business, the Calming Club, which was a self-care stationery brand to help people with anxiety. So very similar to what you're doing, but in the stationery space, I don't think I would have created those products and designed those products if I hadn't have had that meaning behind it
behind
and
it.
like that
Mm,
mission. And like when I was doing like markets or speaking to people about it, it was always talking about my story, but also like one thing we've spoken about before is the amount of people that come up to us and will tell us about their mental health and tell us their life story because they feel like they know us and they trust us because of the stuff they've seen from our personal brand,
mm,
but also because of the fact that we're showing that we understand because of what we've
yeah.
created as well. And I think that alone is so powerful that it does, like you said, you don't need to be a six-figure business owner to have that
Yeah,
impact and to be making people feel better and helping people in their like most difficult times that they're facing as well. So
yeah.
I think the fact that yeah, I completely get where you're coming from with that, and it's hard to know, isn't it, if you don't have a purpose behind it. But like you said, there's like so many skincare brands out there. For me, there's so many stationery brands out there. But what
Mm.
makes you different is leaning into your own story as well. Like, how did you find being open about your journey, like when you've been starting to post more content? Like, was that easy for you because you've been so used to talking about it now, or was there any resistance around sharing that?
Do you mean as in like do you mean as in when I go and do talks now in comparison to when I started, kind of thing, or?
Yeah, but also when you're like posting on LinkedIn or on TikTok and actually sharing that story more publicly too.
It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier now, I think. Yeah, I think before I used to be very reluctant. I was like, I don't want to post about this
Yeah,
at all. But then I kept reminding myself, thinking like, this business isn't just skincare, so I can't just post about skincare. I need to actually tell my story because otherwise people aren't going to know
yeah,
what I'm talking about. They're going to see a skincare brand, like they're going to see a skincare brand that donates to mental health, which is great, but they're not going to see the story, and therefore they're not going to resonate with it. So like it's trying to. I think for me, it was like story comes first, then the product comes second. And I think like it was at the beginning, it was very, very challenging to start talking about it because again, you don't know what people are gonna say. You do get a lot of trolls that can say certain things, and it can be.
mm,
I think at the beginning, it very much had an impact on me when I was seeing comments, and I was like I need to respond to this, but actually, like by responding to it, you're actually giving them power. So I've just gone like the other way, and instead of I've just gone like, oh, thanks for your comment or whatever, and just try to like brush it off. 'Cause it was like, oh, it just is what it is. I know them helping more people. Like, and someone said before, it's like if you know you're doing something right when you have people that don't agree with what you're doing. I know that sounds weird,
yeah,
but like because you're creating that, like I don't know why, but it just because some people don't like what you're doing, they it's almost like, oh yeah, you're doing the right, because you can't please everyone. You can't please everyone, and that's also okay. But it was very hard to begin with. It's a lot easier now. Like
mm,
I'm very confident and very open about it. And I think the reason why it was so difficult to begin with was because I was so worried about mainly what my family would think, mainly worried about what my family would
yeah,
think. Um, but it's become a lot easier as time's gone on. It's become a lot easier to talk about it because I've become more transparent and honest about it with my family. So I think what it was before is I would post about it and my family would come up to me and be like, "Is everything all right? Because I've seen this post." And I'd be like, "Yeah, everything's
yeah,
fine. Like everything's fine. Like I'm posting this to help others. Like I'm talking about my journey. Like if anything, that's a good thing that I'm talking about it because it just shows that like it shows that I'm talking about it and I feel comfortable to talk about it and I'm doing it to help others. I'm not saying it from like a, I'm not saying it from a cause to make a cause for concern. I'm saying it to try
mm,
and help and make a difference. And I think people initially were like, oh, what's wrong? Like, and I'm like, no, everything's fine. But like, I think that's what the hurdles were to begin with. And now it's just they've become used to it. And then also like a lot of people, they talk to me more about their mental health now as well. It's just becoming
yeah.
it's the conversations are happening more. And yeah, it was very hard to begin with, but it's a lot easier now. And if someone says that's something negative, then I'm just like, oh, that's fine. But like, I just wish them well because I just think like sometimes if you're trying to do something positive and trying to make a difference, and someone says something negative, I've started my mind has gone into that position of like, I wonder what must be going through your head to say something like that. Um, Whereas before I used to take it really personal, but like now I'm so I just I almost wish them well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's such a big learning curve, and I know a lot of the founders and the people that I work with that are wanting to start to put themselves out there on social media. Their biggest thing is, what will people think of me? Normally, people in their own lives is like one of their biggest ones. So, like previous colleagues, family, friends. Like, what are they going to think about me doing something different? But then there's also the side of things of like complete strangers trolling them and kind of, and that, I don't know which is worse, I suppose, if your family's not supportive or whether you're getting these kind of horrible comments as well. But I definitely agree that you kind of got to look at it as like it says more about their life, of what they're experiencing. It's a reflection on them rather than what it is on you. Because like we would never think to leave like a horrible comment on somebody's content, no matter what that was. And it's kind of like really thinking about, they must be in a really horrible place to be able to leave something like that. So it's more kind of reflecting on that and trying not to take it personally. But in the moment, especially if you're having a hard day as a business owner or just in general, it's so easy to take that personally as well and like take that on board. So I think it's definitely something you have to work on. But what would you say, like, what would be your advice to somebody that's maybe like scared to post because their family's going to see it or their friends are going to see it or colleagues? Like, do you have any advice for that?
So what I did when I first started posting, so this is actually quite a crazy story. So when I first started posting content, I didn't want my colleagues at the time to know I started a business.
Yeah.
I had a feeling. So they were so what happened was the two colleagues, or the three colleagues that I was working with, they were all my age or similar. Like they were, it's like plus or minus like a year or so. And they knew about it because they had seen the post on Instagram and they were like, "Oh, this is amazing! Like, I love what you're doing." And I literally said, "I was like, please don't tell anyone else in the office." It's like, "I'm doing this for me, along the side. I don't really want anyone else knowing." And the reason why was because I didn't want someone to start taking the mick, or like, it was one of those things. But I think they could see, they could see how hard it was for me to start. But they were they were like, "Yeah, no, I'm not gonna," And to be fair, they didn't, But when I first started, I actually had to. I either hid people from my stories, so people that I would thinking like, okay, who do I really care? Like whose opinion do I really care about if they say something? I'm gonna hide them from my story, or even some of my closest friends. I feel awful saying it, but like some of my closest friends, I actually blocked them on TikTok and on Instagram.
Mm,
I obviously unblocked them after a while, but I said to them, I was like, "I'm really, really sorry." I was like, "Please don't take offense to that." I was like, it's just really hard pushing yourself out there. I was like, and it's that fear of judgment. They're like, "No, no, I completely get it." Because one of my friends, they messaged me, was like, "Oh, hi mate, I want to have a look at your TikToks, but I can't get access to your page." And I literally messaged him, was like, "I'm really sorry, mate. I blocked you." I was like, just because I'm trying to get over that fear of I think what it was
yeah.
because I was going live on TikTok at the time. I just started going live, and when their name would pop up, I instantly felt like my whole persona changed because I was thinking about them, not about anyone else, and that became really hard to get over. So I just had to go down that stage. But like my advice would be like just like I know it says so like cliche, but like actually just make the start on the first post. Like the first post is like the hardest one because like it takes a lot of courage to post the first video, and it's not going to do well. Like it
Yeah.
isn't going to do well. I think that's the most important thing. Is like it really like don't get me wrong. You could post one video and it could do everything. Yeah, and if it does, fair play and congratulations because that's awesome. But like it's that when I first started, I thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna get like 2,000 orders in the first year, and I just didn't. So like for me, it was like I'm slowly growing my confidence over time, and I became more and more confident with the videos that I was doing and lives that I was doing just through repetition, making sure I was consistent with it because it's so easy to fall off the wagon. Like for instance, the past week I've not really posted much on TikTok and Instagram, and it's just because I've had so many other things going on with the business that I've been trying to sort out that it's made it really difficult to do. And I'm there thinking, oh, it's hard for me. I need to get back. Like today, I need to get back into that rhythm because I know how hard it is if I don't. I know how much harder it's going to be if I don't carry on and get back onto it. But I'd say like genuinely just post, like genuinely just try. Like it's never going to be right the first time, and every post is like a way of figuring out, okay, what is it that people like? Is there different content styles that people like? So like for instance, with me on my personal TikTok, I, my hook is very much the same, but like it's like my phone. I prompt my phone down very quickly, and I start talking instantly. So I'm like, oh, just a quick reminder. And as I'm doing that reminder, the hook, like it's like the hook and the just a quick reminder. So within 1 or 2 seconds, I've got a lot of people's attention, and those videos tend to do a lot better than the videos that I was doing before. But I wouldn't know that until I started doing like
Yeah.
I've done some terrible videos in the past, but like I wouldn't be here getting better at videos over time if it wasn't for me making mistakes in the past. I just think like I just learn from them over time. So it's very hard. It's the confidence of posting a video. Like you also have to give yourself credit where credit is due. Like I think a lot of us think like, oh, like give yourself credit because it is tough. It's not easy posting
Yeah.
content. So just getting over that first hurdle. 100%.
Absolutely. I think yeah, I always give the advice of just like block the people or
Block the
kind of
people.
hide the people, even though it's horrible and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. But you're like, if that's the one thing getting in the way of you actually starting that business or starting that idea, you can block them for 3 months, 6 months. Like it's not going to be the end of the world. And like I said, I think it doesn't matter too much if you tell the people. Like I just tell them that I'm like, I'm gonna block you, but it's not personal. It's just because it's getting in my head and it's stopping me from taking action. So I think that's so important. But I completely agree with you. The fact that a lot of people want to get things perfect before they share them with the world. And it's like, you're never going to be perfect if you've only filmed one video and you've not shared it. Like, because you're not going to be able to see what performed well. When did people drop off the video? Like, did you get any followers? Like, the more that you actually share the content, the more you're going to learn from that too. But
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
often people don't realize that have you heard of this before, like the valley of death when it comes to like the content? So it's like you start a project, it's like, oh, I'm so excited, this is going to go really well, and then it drops off a cliff because you're like, okay, this what isn't moving as fast as I thought it was. It's very slow, it's
Mm.
difficult, it's much harder. I'm facing all these mindset challenges, and you go through this kind of period where you're like, this is really tough, and then it starts to pick up and you start seeing that impact. And I think that's where like sometimes having things like anxiety or having mental health challenges can really make you stronger to
Mm.
handle that dip, because often people have like worked on their mindset a little bit to get to that point. So when they do go down, they're like, I've dealt with this before, I've been down before, but this is how I got out of it. So how can I get out of it again? Which I think is so interesting.
Mm.
And I know I've heard a lot of people say like a lot of people that struggle with anxiety or maybe they're neurodivergent often want to start their own businesses. And I've heard that it can be a great thing, but it could also be a challenging thing as well. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it can give you a strength, I suppose, in terms of the fact that you've navigated a challenge with your mental health to start a business? Or do you think it can also be a challenge as well? I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh, as in like it could have like a detrimental impact to your mental health kind of thing.
Well, kind of like, so do you think it could be a positive actually having struggled with something like anxiety or mental health challenges? Because I think a lot of people who've dealt with that have gone on to actually start businesses. So I
Yeah.
think it's quite interesting that it's kind of made them think about things differently. And I wonder whether you've seen it from that perspective or whether you think it could be more of a challenge.
I I genuinely think it's dependent on the person. I think I know what you mean. I think like don't get me wrong. I think like what is I think everything that like has happened from the past 5 years. I think I'm definitely so much more resilient than I used to be. But the one thing that I think has I think like with growing the business, it is hard and like it's so easy for it to have a negative effect on you mentally as well because you're like someone was saying to me the other day like you can't have your good days. Your days aren't dictated by how good sales are. Like if your sales are bad one
Yeah.
day, that doesn't mean you've had a bad day. You could have had a really good day. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. And like I think that's what I used to do before, and then that would have a detrimental impact on me negatively. Um, and I know what you mean when you're saying that. I think there's definitely a possibility because I I think me struggling has made me realize like no, I am a really resilient person and like almost like I won't take no for an answer. Like
Yeah.
even if someone says no to me now, like okay, that's fine, but someone's gonna say yes to me down the line, or you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna keep going, and keep going. And yeah, I think there's definitely a possibility because I think it had I think growing the brands as like when I was struggling, it gave me purpose. It gave me routine as well. I gave me routine, but it also made me learn more about me. And I think that's what I needed to learn. Needed to learn about who I was and what works best for me mentally. And I think like growing a business, I think for people like that can be really, really beneficial because like you're learning about who you are and what your body needs and what you want. And you just learn what you know about it. Yeah, I think definitely. I definitely think so.
Yeah, I think it is such a double-edged sword with it. I think it's like a really great thing because I think a lot of people that have anxiety often want control because they want control over how they're feeling. They want control over everything. They want everything to go the way that they want it to, so they don't feel anxious. So having a business that you can somewhat control, so you can control how much you put into it, and kind of that sort of, and you kind of have a say over what's happening with it. I think that's a great thing, but it can also be challenging, like you said, to not hold on to those things that you can't control, like how many
Of course.
sales you get that day, what engagement you get on content, like how quickly you're moving, or if you're winning awards, or like if you're actually progressing the way you want to. So I completely get that it's kind of a double-edged sword, but I think often people that struggle with their mental health want that freedom, that flexibility. So you can take those mental health days off without a boss kind of saying like you can't
Yeah,
do that. It
of
does give
course.
you that flexibility as well to like choose your own schedule and
Mm.
work, like as much as you can't just work 2 hours a day and everything's going to be fine. It's very much like you can work when you feel more productive, or you could go to the gym in the middle of the day because that's good for your mental health, or go for a
Mm.
walk. So I think it's a really good thing that often people don't talk about when they're talking about entrepreneurship, that how it can be tweaked and changed, and you can structure it in a way that actually supports you and your mental health and the way you like to work as well, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, because that's what I so when I went to not Leicester, I went to Worcester last week, and I met one of my friends, and she was saying to me like, she was like, if you, even if you worked 4 hours of deep work, like just do 4 hours of what you wanted to do in a day, and you got everything done. She said, what's to say that you couldn't go and do some, you could do like a flexible job on the side to get some more money, like fund the business that way as well, like keep something along the side, and also like go to the gym and like exercise and move your body and do things for your mind, like read a book. She's like, because that is what is going to benefit you, and like it's made me realize that like, oh yeah, like these businesses that are doing good figures, like they are putting a lot of time into themselves. I think, like you just said, then we're like that. It's that free, and like, I completely agree. Like that freedom and that flexibility and that control feeling. That's what I get all the time. It's like I have a massive fear of flying. Like I love the idea of
Mm,
flying, but I have a fear of flying because I want to be in control, and I'm not in control. So it
yes.
freaks me out. So it's that same thing. Like I like the idea that I'm in control of my hours. However, I'm still trying to get used to that. I'm still trying to get used to that feeling. So like going to the gym in the morning, in the middle of the day, for me, my head is like, no, that's wrong. Like you should be working. And I'm like, wait, what? Like why? Like why? I don't know. You've got to do it in the morning. And like that, like my mind, I'm still getting my.
Mm,
I'm trying to train my mind and thinking, no, hang on a second. You're doing this. This is a completely different thing. You can set your own hours, and like I said, to whatever works best for you. Because I often feel like sometimes I work a lot better in the evening, which is really annoying because it's like kind of where I need to go to bed. But I'm like, oh, do you know what? Like I'm just gonna do these things because I've got all this going in my head right now. Um, yeah, it's very. I know exactly what you mean.
yeah, I think it's really easy to have that like guilty feeling show up, and that's definitely something that I still experience now. It's definitely got easier to recognize that it's there, but I completely agree. Like if I ever did something like that, like go to the gym in the middle of the day and go for a walk, or go for a coffee with a friend at lunchtime, I'd be like, whoa, whoa, whoa! I meant to be working. Like what's? But it's like actually sometimes, especially as a business owner as well, you need to give yourself space to actually come up with ideas, to think about things, to get different perspectives, because often when you're sitting down at your desk and you're trying to force yourself to be creative, or trying to force yourself to think of things, it's impossible to do that. And often it doesn't look like sitting at your desk, it looks like going for a walk, or
Mm.
going to meet up with somebody to have those conversations, like you just said, like the realization you had when you were speaking to your friend. It's like that's something you can turn into a piece of content, but it can also help you with your business too. So it's like so many things that come of like not what traditional work looks like sitting down at a desk, is so important to remember. But I think it's rewiring what we've been taught probably since we were really young, and seeing our parents go to traditional jobs and kind of all that kind of stuff. I think it's so easy to fall into that trap of like, if I'm not working a 9 to 5 sat at a desk, it's not work. And being a business owner, it just doesn't look like that. So I think it's interesting that you've had that experience as well.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's very. That's the thing as well. And I also think like when you've not had, like I say, if you're surrounded by people who have gone down, um, they've got a job and they don't understand it, then your mind is wired to thinking like, oh, they are the working hours, and you shouldn't
Yeah,
work on the weekend. Like that, like like this thing of like this taboo over
yeah,
working on the weekend. But like to be honest with you, I get a lot of my work done over the weekend. Like, and like, don't get me wrong, I think it's important to rest. Like, it really is, like 100%. But a lot of the time, like, I have a day on a Saturday where I'm just free, where I'm not actually doing anything. And I kind of just think like this is my day to really get a lot of stuff done. Like I can really catch up on emails and catch up on all these things. So when it comes to Monday, like my week can start off a little bit
Yeah.
easier. Like even this weekend, like so Saturday, the thought of working on a Saturday and Sunday, yeah, like it's not nice. It's not it's like, but like I also spent a lot of the time on the weekend running, going to the gym, walking, getting enough sleep. But I also just did a few hours of work, and like it
Yeah.
meant that Monday I could put all my energy into doing 4 hours of talks rather than thinking I've got so much to catch up on today. So like having the like I said, the flexibility, even though hours can be different and you may be working on the weekends sometimes, I think like actually like it's a freedom. But it's really hard to break. It's really hard to break because I think a
Yeah.
lot of people think, oh, why don't you just go out or why don't you do this? It's like this doesn't work that way, and it's hard. And also like it's your preference. I know a lot of people that like, especially business owners. There are a lot of people that are like, yeah, I'm going away. They're going away for 3 weeks. They're like, yeah, and I'll do a little bit of work here and there. But they're in a position where they can, in my head like I commend that. So I just think, "Do you know what? You've built a business to exactly what you want out of life. Like you're like, you've not built a business to be constantly working in it rather than on it. And I'm like, I just think that's so admirable. Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, I think it's also as well like blending fun with your work week too. Like often when we're building businesses, we actually enjoy parts of what we do as well. Most parts, hopefully, but obviously there's still bits that we don't enjoy. But it's like
Yeah.
you blend bits that are like, okay, this is actually fun. I'm going to this event today. I'm going to this networking event, or I don't know, I'm designing this thing, or I'm writing this content, or I'm filming this thing. Like there's always fun within your week that doesn't necessarily feel like work. So it's kind of like maybe when it comes to the weekend, you're like, actually, I would really enjoy just sitting down for a few hours, maybe going to a coffee shop, writing some content, or like doing something different that other people would see as work, but you actually enjoy it. So it's
Mm.
part of what you want to do as well. So yeah, I think it's a really important balance to strike. And it's very easy to tip one way or the other where you're like, actually, I'm not working enough or I'm doing way too much, normally that side of things. But it's like finding what works for you. And like I said, if you work better in the evenings, it's like finding that balance in your day so you can have more time in the day to do the other things that you want to do as well. So yeah, no, it's really interesting. And I think this is why I wanted to create a podcast like this to actually show like what is the reality of building a business. Like does it look like what you maybe see on platforms like Dragon's Den, or kind of how you see like people with the hustle culture, or is it more about finding the flow that works for you and finding the structure of your week that works for you as well? But yeah, I think it's so interesting. But I'd love to know, what are your plans for Clear for Men moving forward? Have you got anything exciting in the pipeline? Have you got anything that you're working on at the moment that you can share with us?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I've got a collaboration coming up with Simon Squibb, so
Yes.
that's happening in September. So that'll be really exciting. So it's like a walk and talk around Twickenham. So we're gonna start at the staircase on a Saturday morning, do like a walk. I think it's like a 3K walk, I think it is. So around about like an hour or so of a walk. I'm not sure how far it is. I think it's like 3 or 5K. Um, and we're gonna be doing that, like sort of like working together to like sort of bring other business owners together, remind them that they're not alone, like just like be like a safe space for people to like vent and talk about it. But we're going to do it where tickets are £5 and £2.50 goes to fund a dream and £2.50 goes to mind.
Mm.
So it's like that the two things together. So currently working on that at the moment. I'm currently trying to get a sponsor to potentially, if I can get a sponsor for it, it means that we can give out like free goodie bags or whatever for people. So we're trying to get that done at the moment. And then um, I'm hoping that in November or December, I'm hoping that I can begin developing a new product. I'd like to begin developing the SPF moisturizer because I think it's been such a long time coming. Um, and I think like building a brand with one product is definitely doable. It is 100% doable, but I think it's going to be a lot easier and more manageable if I do have that extra product that can because that might be the product that I make, could be the product that brings me that takes me off. So yeah, I'm hoping to begin that. My goal is December. I want to be able to sign it off in December and say, okay, let's start to hopefully have it ready for this time next year. Um, yeah, but we'll
Amazing. No,
see
that's
there.
really exciting. And
Thank you.
it is crazy like how long it takes for like product development as well. Like that whole process that you're going through, like planning for like that far ahead. But I think like you said, like you're expanding the range of what you offer. Hopefully that will spark even more conversations. And I think, yeah, and also the event sounds amazing as well. So, how do people find out more about that if they want to book on? Where would they go?
That's a very good question. So at the moment, we've not set up an event right just yet. I've got a call with them maybe next week or the week after, just because they've got such a busy schedule they're trying to like adhere to. So I'm currently waiting to hear back from them. But I will put something on my website, so
Yeah,
clearformen.co.uk. There will be a link to be able to purchase it. I'll take you to an event, right, and then you'll be able to purchase the ticket via there. It'll be on the
amazing. That's really
27th of
exciting.
September. So
Yeah, no, that's
yeah,
amazing. So, yeah, I think obviously like what you're doing is incredible. You're on an incredible mission. And I think the fact that you've been building this over the last 3 years now, like almost 3 years. Yeah, so you're gonna be celebrating your business birthday next month, which is
right, yeah, it's
exciting.
mad,
So
isn't it?
it's always weird when business birthdays come around. I'm
I
like,
know,
it's a big
yeah,
thing, like,
yeah.
but I think that's amazing. But if you could go back in time and give yourself a tool, a habit, and a book that you would recommend, maybe 3 years ago when you were at the start of that journey, what would you recommend?
So I've read a few. I've read so two books I think have really had an impact on me. I think the Chimp Paradox really has an
Mhm.
impact on me, and learning more about like my chimp, my inner chimp, and learning that like things are going to get uncomfortable sometimes. So it's learning to embrace the discomfort of things, like going and doing a talk. Like your mind is saying, "Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this," but
Yeah.
this is the chimp that's hijacking your brain. It sounds like a really crazy book, but like once you read it, it makes so much sense, and it's really really a benefit. And in fact, I'm probably going to read it again. It's such a good book. And also, like I was saying earlier, the courage to be disliked. I think that is a. I'm currently in the middle of reading it. That has been really it's sort of highlighted like, I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing it for anyone else. There are going to be people that don't like me, and that's okay. I'm doing this for me. And I think by comparing myself to other people, I am taking myself away. I'm taking the happiness away from myself, or I'm not allowing myself to enjoy the journey. Because like, for example, when we went to Downing Street last week, there would have been the old me that would have looked at that and gone, yeah, this is good, but what's next? Like I would be constantly striving for the next thing. Whereas like I'm like, no, this is a win. Let's celebrate this because this is a huge milestone. Like not everyone can say they've done that. Take this moment to just celebrate it. And I think like these books are helping me with that. So I definitely say yeah, sorry, Coach to be Disliked and the Chin Paradox. I forgot the names then. Um, a podcast. Did you say a podcast as well to you?
Well, you can have a podcast as well. Yeah, I'd love a podcast.
So I listen a lot to. Have you ever heard of Brittany Saunders? I'm not sure if I spoke to you about
I
her
feel
before.
like I have. Yeah.
So she owns a brand called Fate the Label in Australia, and she does her own podcast, and she talks a lot about business, and she talks a lot about, but she does it in like half an hour segments, and they're like, but like she's not talking about like, oh, you should be doing this. It's like we're doing this. So she'll talk about like what it's like to be the face of the brand, or how much she spent in a year on entire business. So it's kind of like I don't know, it's very comforting to listen to. So like that,
Yeah.
like I think business podcasts are really, really important to listen to, like figuring out like what they've done or listening to like what people are doing. So I think it also tells you where the shift is going. Like a lot of people are talking about live social shopping. So like live shopping has been like a big thing. Like I do it a lot as well. Um, and I also think like a habit, I would just say I think maybe it's taking a step at a time. Like take a step at a time. I think like I used to feel as though I had to have it all figured out in one go. And like I would make myself a massive to-do list. And like if I got 25 out of 26 things done in a day, it would still be a bad day because I didn't get that 26 things. And I'm like, no,
Mm,
like stop doing that. Um, it takes time. I think that's the one piece of advice that I wish I had. I think it's given me a lot of like I think humility is the right word. I think it is, but I like when I started and I thought I was going to get 2,000 orders in the first year and I had 20, it's humbled me massively. So it's made me think, oh, this is going to take a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. Like I thought it was just going to be like an overnight, amazing, six-figure business, warehouse. Like it just hasn't worked that way yet. So it's like I'm now in the process of like I'm enjoying the journey more. So when I get to the stage where I maybe have a warehouse and I maybe have my own office and I maybe hire staff, I can look back and go, remember when I used to pack orders in a spare bedroom in my home. Like what a crazy mission that was. Like that's where I want to enjoy the journey more. And I think I definitely say like enjoy every second, like, even the moments where they like, because there are a lot of moments that aren't the greatest. Like there are moments of self doubt, and there are times where it's really hard. It's hard to say enjoy them. It's really hard to say enjoy that moment.
Mm,
But like remind yourself of that. Like allow yourself to feel that way, but in not enjoy it, but like embrace it, because one
yeah,
day you're gonna look back and you're gonna go, I've come so far. But
yeah,
if you don't appreciate how far you've come, you'll constantly be looking at more. And it's I think the whole journey has humbled me massively. And like you said, it's a massive personal development journey anyway.
yeah,
So like I feel as though I've gone from why have I not got all these orders, like stressing and becoming like really getting myself worked up, to that's okay. We're slowly building a great community, we're making a difference, and we're just getting better 1% at a time every day. And it's just
yeah,
taking time. But even like in the past 6 months, like you say, like the 6 months that have been between now and between January and now, like LinkedIn, like the progress of LinkedIn takes such a considerable amount of time. And like I said, it's been a year
yeah,
and a half of you, isn't it? Of you posting on LinkedIn. Like that's like over was that over like 500 days of posting. Like that's a
yeah,
long time, but like one step at a time has led you to where you are today. And like that's what I see it like how far you've come in a year and a half. And then I'd say like just apply the same thing. But I think the most important thing that I've realized is you just can't look at other people's journey, because that steers you massively away. And I've genuinely I felt in like such a great mood about something, and then all of a sudden I've seen a post and it's completely taken away everything that I just achieved. And
mm,
I'm back to square one, if not worse, thinking like, oh, why have I not done this? And then that's the hustle culture starts to kick in. Then thinking you need to be doing more, but in actual fact, you just need to appreciate where you are, and learn to enjoy the journey more than anything, because it's gonna be tough.
yeah,
So
definitely. And there's so much good advice there. I think it's definitely just recognizing that those lows are a part of the process, like they are
yeah.
just part of the journey. But I think one thing I realized like along the way is like often you have these really big goals of like, I really want to achieve this thing. So like for me, like with the Calming Club, I had like a really big order come in of like 3,000 units in one
Oh,
go.
nice.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay, so I need to set up an office. I need to set up like
Yeah.
fulfillment. And that was the most stressful month of my life. It was the worst time. It was the worst for my mental health. And I think I realized that I was wishing for that stage in my business, but I hadn't realized how much of a step up that was going to be. So often we need to do all this work over this time that seems like it's taken forever to get to that point that you can handle the challenge when it comes, that you are going to get those 2,000 orders through, or you're going to get that really big kind of next stage of your business and it's going to blow up and it's going to be
Mm.
amazing. It's like you have to also, and I don't think we often look at this as like the realities of what that actually looks like and the stress
Yeah.
that comes with that too. So
Yeah.
that's definitely been a really big lesson for me. Is like I thought, oh my god, my life will be made once that happens, but
Yeah.
actually it's
It's
a
it,
wild roller coaster of experiences when that does actually happen too.
Yeah, and also it's the added stress. Like don't get me wrong, it's exciting, and like I remember people saying to me before, they were like, "Oh, can you handle that? Like, could you handle that?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, yeah, of course I could." And then I'm thinking, "Well, no, you're right, because like the amount it costs to hire a warehouse for a year, and then
Yeah,
the possibility of hiring staff, like you're responsible for someone. Then you're responsible for them having a
yeah,
wage every month, and all these different things that, like I said, and rightly so. Like you should, like if that's what you want, like because that's what I aspire to have a warehouse one day,
yeah,
and it's great. But like it's when you're ready, like when you're really ready and you're at full capacity, and you physically cannot do it anymore from where you are, rather than rushing it. And like I said, because it's like that. If you rush it and okay, you've got it, but then you've got to maintain it, and
yes,
then
exactly.
it's very tough. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, so it's hard, isn't it? It's like matching that ambition with reality of like, okay, this is what it actually looks like, and not kind of painting it as like it will be amazing when this happens, but actually, what does that look like? And am I working on my mindset? Am I working on myself to get to a point where I'm ready to take that on, so it doesn't completely destroy my mental health if that does happen? So yeah, I think it's really important to recognize. But there's so many great tips there. I recommend everybody goes and checks out those books, the podcast, and I do think like collecting those little wins along the way, like you were saying, like actually recognizing, like, I mean, Downing Street is a pretty good win, isn't it?
It's a
Like the fact
massive
that it's
win,
like
isn't it? I know.
collect that one, put it so whenever you're having a bad day, you can kind of look back and think, actually, I have done all these amazing things. Like my younger self would be like, this is insane. Like, how has this happened? So it is enjoying that process because you're on that journey. Like you are going to look back in a few years' time and be like, I wish I had enjoyed that bit more rather than being so stressed. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's all part of the process, but it's all part of that journey of learning more about yourself as well,
Yeah,
which
that's it.
is
Learn
all
about
part of the
yourself.
fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. No, that's been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me, Louis. I think that's been
Of
so
course.
useful. I hope everybody's found that really useful in terms of all the information you shared. And I think it's so important to just share your journey, document your
Mm.
journey, talk about your mental health. I think that's a really important message of both you and your brand are sharing. So
Yeah,
I
thank you.
recommend that everybody goes and checks it out. But where can people find you if they want to learn more about you or see more of your content?
Yeah, so I post on LinkedIn with Louis Watkins, and then the same on Instagram, just Louis Watkins, and TikTok as well, and YouTube with Louis Watkins. And then same on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. It should be at we are clear underscore, so clear for men. Yeah, that's it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And yeah, go and check out all of Louis' work, post content, and the products as well. And go along to the event in September if you can make it as well. But thank you so much, Louis.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.